Welcome back to the show. Today we have Jeff Cox from Ocean Marketing here, and he is going to go over some of the ACR survival equipment, what it is, what's important about it, and how to use it. Jeff?
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. We've got a great assortment of ACR products on display here. Most of these are the premium product in their particular category on the market. And I'm just going to go over some different products, some different features and benefits, and different applications for each one. I'm going to start over here with the Rescue Flare, which from a price point standpoint is kind of an introductory product in the line, but it also is a cost saver for you in the longevity of the time that you own your boat. This is a Coast Guard approved replacement for pyrotechnics on board the boat. So those flares that come up for date every 3 years that you need to keep replacing to be Coast Guard approved, this is now an alternative to doing that. This is a one-time purchase of $80. It comes in a small retail package like this and comes equipped with a orange distress bag as well. U.S. Coast Guard accepts this bag as a daytime distress signal, and as well as the Rescue Flare light itself, which has a 360-degree angle.
Very nice. So how does it work?
It's a simple twist off, so you push down, there's a little bit of a spring and a gasket in there, so keep maintaining it watertight. On the inside, 2 C batteries go in for the power for it. Okay. And then there's a quick diagram on the side of it for putting it back together and twisting from off to an on position. And at that point, it's going to begin broadcasting. It's got an LED light, so it's got a very long time lasting strobe built right into it, and again approved by the Coast Guard as that alternative to pyrotechnics on the boat.
Nice. So Jeff, we get a lot of calls every day about EPIRBs, what they are, how to use them, what the difference between a Category 1 is, Category 2. Tell us about them.
Great, so I'd be happy to go through the whole process with you here. There's a number of different EPIRBs on the market right now. What we have here is the Global Fix V5 from ACR. That is the premium product on the market that has the most feature-rich assortment. It's the most feature-rich product on the market for an EPIRB. So first of all, in the world of EPIRBs, it's full of acronyms. So an EPIRB to start with is an Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. This is a device that is registered to your vessel. It will go on board your vessel, and wherever that vessel goes, if there is an emergency on board, you can activate the device. It sends a signal up through a series of satellites called the COSPAS SARSAT satellite system.
That's an awful.
It is. It's got quite a bit to say. So the COSPAS SARSAT satellite system has global coverage. So wherever that vessel goes, it is going to be protected, and that's going to get your emergency signal down to the nearest professional search and rescue to your location of where that emergency is.
And how is it registered? How does someone receive this and put their boat name and name with that?
Great question. So it does vary country to country. Certain countries have different methods for doing it. Here in the United States, it's all handled by NOAA. So if you go to register your EPIRB, you can either do that through the website for ACR and register my beacon, and it'll send you a link to the NOAA page. Or if you go to the NOAA homepage, you can click register my beacon and follow the form right there.
Perfect.
And submit it. So EPIRBs are generally available as a Category 1 or a Category 2 beacon. In this scenario, the EPIRB is basically the same. It's the same basic product. It has the same features. It has the same battery, the same notification time to search and rescue, all of that. What it comes down to is how it's mounted and how it's deployed.
Okay.
This is a Category 2 beacon, which means that it has a wall-mounted bracket. So this would be mounted on a bulkhead near a helm station, near the navigation station, somewhere where it's relatively out of the way, but also easily accessible in case of emergency. It's mounted, and in case of emergency, you simply push down on this button here and remove the beacon from its bracket. You can then turn it on by popping up this red switch here and pressing the on button, or if the beacon drops in the water, it is water activated, so it will automatically turn on when it hits the water.
Is this the model that people generally use with ditch bags?
This is a very popular model to put in your ditch bag. Now, one thing to consider though is that once it's removed from its bracket, it is water activated. So if that ditch bag were to get wet, you could have an opportunity for this to start transmitting. So just be very aware of that once it's removed from its bracket, that water activation is engaged.
And I think it's important to note that this is a EPIRB and not a PLB. So this is registered to the boat itself, not the individual person. So it's not a replacement for the personal locator beacon. It should be used in addition to those.
Absolutely. An EPIRB for the vessel, a PLB for the individual is really what we stress, and that's going to be the safest way to do it. Now, similar to the Category 2 beacon, again, the EPIRB itself is basically the same. You can see size, shape, everything's the same. However, with the Category 1 EPIRB, it's mounted in a sea shelter, as you see here. This sea shelter would be mounted on deck somewhere on the boat, and it is equipped with a hydrostatic release, which is this device that you see right here. Now, the hydrostatic release is pressure sensitive, so if the vessel were to sink in an emergency before you can deploy your Category 2 beacon, this is automatically going to open up and eject the EPIRB and turn on. So in emergency, if you're not able to deploy your beacon by yourself, you do have that fail-safe, that redundancy where if the boat sinks, it's automatically going to eject the EPIRB when it hits a depth of about 10 feet.
So Jeff, recently ACR discontinued the V4 Global Fix EPIRBs and released the V5. So what's new with this EPIRB? What's important?
So there's a few new features that are added into the new EPIRBs. Now we're speaking mainly of the V5 today. There is also a V6 on the market as well, which has many of these features, but not all of them. So with the V5 and the V6, you've incorporated a few new technologies. So this, we've talked about the EPIRB, cost-pass RSAT satellite system. The notification time to search and rescue is going to be about 3 to 4 minutes, depending on conditions. The search area that they get is going to be about 100 yards. Anywhere in the world, they've got about 100 yards. Now, what the new EPIRBs have done, the V5 and the V6, have also integrated a technology called RLS. Now, RLS is Return Link Service. And what that does is it actually gives the boat owner or whoever's activating the beacon a little peace of mind knowing that their signal's been received. For years, EPIRBs have also had a visual distress signal incorporated. There's a LED light that flashes right at the top of the beacon for the entire lifespan of that beacon, which is a minimum of 48 hours once it's been activated.
Okay.
So that always tells you that the signal's gone out. So now with RLS, the Return Link Service, you now have a transmission back from the satellites to the EPIRB, confirming that the signal's actually been received.
Okay.
And so on the newer beacons, you're not only going to see the strobe light flashing as a visual distress, but you're also going to see a blue light flashing on the beacon. And that's telling you in an emergency that not only has your signal gone out, but it's actually been received by
that will
rescue.
definitely give boaters a peace of mind out of the water.
Absolutely. It's a panic situation. It's a scary environment, and you've got that will to live, and that will to live is a lot stronger when you know your distress signal has been
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we've got an EPIRB here. We also have RLS. Another technology that's incorporated both in the V5 and the V6 EPIRB is NFC. NFC is near field communication.
Okay.
Now, what's cool about near field communication is that it incorporates the technology of an app on your cell phone, and it basically, with the ACR app, which is a free download just out of the App Store, you're able to take that ACR app, scan your beacon with it, and through that NFC technology and that NFC feature, you're going to be able to see all the information about your beacon. You're going to see how many times it's been tested, what the battery life is. Anything you would want to know about your beacon is going to be right there, which I think is awesome because, first of all, these beacons now have a 10-year battery on them. So that NFC, I mean, great, you buy the EPIRB, you can test it out, it looks good. You know everything's good with it.
Right.
But let's say the beacon is 6, 7 years old. When was the last time I tested that? How good is that battery? How many tests do I have left before I need to get the battery serviced? This is something where you can simply scan it with the app and it's going to give you all that information and all that history on the EPIRB.
Awesome.
All right, so we've got a great range of technologies here. We have an EPIRB that has RLS, that has NFC. Now those are shared technologies for the V5 and the V6. Now what really makes the V5 unique on the market is that the V5 has also incorporated an AIS transmitter into it as well.
Okay.
This is a huge step forward in the rescue technology. So an EPIRB, as we talked about, goes up through the cost-pass
Got him.
So the EPIRB, as we talked about, is a global distress signal using global satellite systems that can tell search and rescue that you're in trouble. The AIS is a localized distress signal. So the AIS sends out a transmission similar to an AIS on a vessel. It's a line of sight transmission that goes out. And this has a range. So any vessel in a line of sight range is also going to see the distress signal from this EPIRB. So imagine a scenario where you're 80 miles offshore, there's an emergency, your boat's sinking, you activate your EPIRB. In a good case scenario, search and rescue is 80 miles away from you.
Right.
There may be a vessel 3, 4, 5 miles or so over the horizon that may see your distress signal and come and give you a localized rescue.
So this AIS will transmit onto someone who has an AIS receiver, and it will show up on their radar or their chart plotter or however they're viewing.
That's exactly right. So anyone in that range that has an AIS receiver will see it as a emergency beacon. It's a red X with a circle around it. So not only does it pick it up, but it does identify it as an emergency, as just another vessel out there, as most of the icons would be for most of the vessels on your AIS.
Nice. That's awesome. And if you don't know what AIS is, we recently did a video on AIS, so be sure to check that out on our channel. So Jeff, you mentioned servicing the EPIRBs, getting the batteries replaced. What is it? How does it happen?
Absolutely. So the battery replacement on these does need to be done professionally. ACR calls them BRCs, battery replacement centers. So your EPIRB 10 years down the line will need to be certified, and the battery for your EPIRB will need to be replaced by a certified battery replacement center 10 years down the line.
Okay.
You can visit ACR website where there's a dealer locator that identifies the battery replacement centers, and it's also something that you can find on a standard Google search.
Yeah, and we are also in the process of becoming a BRC, so keep a lookout for any updates on that.
So obviously battery replacement is important with these because it's a device that's designed and built to last you a long time. However, it is an investment that you're going to make, and you're going to have this for 10 years moving forward. So great product on the market, and it's definitely a priority for your safety equipment list on board the boat.
And very affordable. What's the range of price for these?
Absolutely. Starting with the V6 in a Category 2, you're right around $660. And if you do decide to step up and get the V5 with the Category 1, which is going to be your highest level of safety on board the boat, you're still going to be under $1,000 at about $940 for that. And keep in mind that that's going to last you for 10 years. So it's still a very good investment for the boat.
So we've gone over the EPIRBs, we've checked out the rescue flare. We have this little device here. Jeff, tell me what this is, what it does.
All right, thanks, Emily. So this is a personal locator beacon. This is one of several versions of this product that's available on the market from ACR. The personal locator beacon is very similar to the EPIRB in a lot of ways. The primary function of it is still as an emergency beacon, whereas the EPIRB is registered to a vessel, the PLB is registered to you as an individual. It goes to the same satellites as the EPIRB. The notification time to search and rescue is going to be the same, as well as the search area that it provides for them.
So what are the main differences between the EPIRB and the PLB? Why would someone go with a PLB versus purchasing the EPIRB?
It's a good question, and it really comes down to what the application is for that person or what they're intending to do when they're sort of stepping off the beaten path. We always recommend an EPIRB for the vessel, so if there's ever an emergency on that vessel, there's an EPIRB there ready to go. Obviously, one of the biggest differences is size, and a lot of that size comes down to simply battery size. So an EPIRB has a battery that'll broadcast for a minimum of 48 hours, where the PLB battery is designed to broadcast for a minimum of 24 hours.
Okay.
So the EPIRBs are also they all float, and they're also ballasted. So if an EPIRB is floating free in the water, it's going to be ballasted with some weight down here so that the antenna and the strobe light is always flashing up towards the satellites. With a PLB, all the ACR PLBs on the market do indeed float, but they're not actually ballasted. So even if you drop it in the water, even if you have the antenna up, it's still not necessarily pointing up and pointing towards the satellite. So if you drop it, it's not the end of your day. You can recover it, but it may not reach the satellites if it's just floating free on its own. Another main difference is the activation function. So EPIRBs all have to have a water activation function. So when they drop in the water, they'll automatically turn on. With the PLB, it's only a manual activation. So you have to actually deploy the antenna, lift up the antenna. When you do that, it reveals the activation button. Please notice that when the antenna is down, you can't press that button. So you do want to avoid that accidental activation. Antenna goes up and you can press the button, and that'll begin the broadcast transmission of this. You also have a strobe light flashing continuously during the broadcast of this. We talked about RLS a little bit when we were talking about the new EPIRBs. There's a few versions of the new PLBs that do also come with RLS, and so you'll see that blue light in those as well, letting you know that that signal's been received.
Perfect.
One other quick similarity that we'll touch on between a PLB and an EPIRB is a test function. So both of these devices are going to have an activation button as well as a button on there that says T, and T here for test. All these batteries are designed to have enough battery power to allow for a number of tests throughout the life of the battery. You press the button, the beacon will basically come to life. You'll see a series of lights flash on the circuit board, and the strobe light on board will flash. And that strobe is really what lets you know that you've passed your self-test and that you're good to go. So there's enough self-tests in each beacon where you can do it pretty much anytime you're getting ready to go out on a trip or getting ready to head outdoors for a while in the case of a PLB. But you can do that battery test quite a few times throughout the life of the battery.
Excellent. So we talked a lot about AIS and how popular and important it is becoming. ACR is the first manufacturer on the market to combine both PLB and AIS into one device, and you are looking at it here. So Jeff, please introduce this.
Thank you. So this is the new PLB 450. This hit the market just a few months ago, and just like Emily said, it's combined a personal locator beacon with a personal AIS transmitter. This has been asked for in the market for years and years because both personal AIS and personal locator beacons have both been available to consumers, but it was a decision they had to make. Am I going to get a PLB, call for outside rescue, or should I get the AIS, call for that localized rescue? And finally, we've been able to get one beacon that does both. PLB 450 is really designed to mount inside of an inflatable life jacket, and you install it in a way where that once your inflatable life jacket inflates, it's automatically going to trigger the beacon to start broadcasting. So the way most people are going to wear this is actually install it into an inflatable life jacket. All inflatable life jackets have an oral inflation tube right on the side when you open up the bladder. And this comes with hardware where you can just clip it directly to that oral inflation tube, and then you close back up the jacket. And so as you're wearing the jacket on board, if you go overboard, that PFD will inflate, and that will automatically trigger your PLB 450 to activate. That's going to do two things at that time. It's going to send out the PLB 406 frequency up to the COSPAS RSAT satellite system. It's going to let professional search and rescue know that there's an emergency somewhere out there. And because it's a PLB, it's registered to you as an individual, so they're going to know it's you that's in trouble.
Right.
At the same time, it's going to broadcast an AIS transmission line of sight, giving a distress signal to any vessel that's in line of sight range, including the boat you fell off of, that you're in trouble and that you're in the water. So with one device, you're getting a localized rescue solution as well as a global rescue solution.
So you mentioned the MMSI number. Usually on a typical AIS black box receiver, transceiver, you have to go register your vessel, get an MMSI number. Is that the same with this?
One of the nice things about the way they developed this is that each unit leaves the factory with an MMSI number built into it. So there's no additional programming required by the end user before this will work. This will basically be fully operational right out of the box, simply install it in your PFD. And when it's activated, all those AIS receivers will notice it. Also, that MMSI number that it's programmed with is specifically identified as an emergency beacon. So the onboard AIS receiver will be able to identify it as an emergency distress signal as opposed to just another vessel on board that is picking up the signal from.
Awesome.
The last ACR product we're going to talk about today, Emily, is the BOE stick. This is a really exciting product for ACR and for the representatives that we have, the dealers that we have out in the field. Almost everything ACR makes are products that you really need to have on board. You should have on board, but we don't want you to ever use, right? If you're using these products and you're having a bad day. So with the BOE, that is actually a product that we want you to have, but we want you to use it. Okay, so with the BOE stick, this is a two-way satellite communication device using Iridium satellite data, where it allows you to get weather forecasts. You can send and receive emails, send and receive text messages. You can share your location. A ton of usability, a ton of functionality with this, and it all works through an app on your cell phone. One of the huge benefits about using this is that they've done a really good job developing the app, so the user interface is very, very good. It's just like writing a text message on your normal messaging app or sending an email on your phone through your email app, but you just do it all from within the BOE app. The BOE stick itself is basically a modem between the Iridium satellites, and then through a Bluetooth connection to your phone, it allows you to use the BOE app even if you're outside of your normal cell coverage area.
Okay. And how does it work? Do you get a personalized number? Is it assigned a number? Does it link to your normal text number?
When you sign up for BOE, you get a new phone number as your BOE number. So this has got nothing to do with your Verizon number or your AT&T number or what T-Mobile, whatever it might be, because when you're using this is usually when you're outside of their normal coverage range anyway. So you're basically going to add it to your contacts as you've got your normal number, and you'll have your BOE number as well. So if you send an email or send a text message, the recipient will see it coming from your BOE number. If you share your number with your friends and family, they can actually contact you by text or email under that number as well. You don't actually have to initiate the conversation. You share your number with other folks, they can reach out to you as long as they have your number.
And what's the cost of this? It sounds pretty expensive. You're talking about sending text messages and emails while offshore.
Sure. So the initial investment is about $300. It's $299. So when you purchase your Bivy, you can actually just go right into the Bivy app. It's a free download, but once you get there, you set up your profile, and from there you can control what type of service plan you want. Now, they do ask for you to do a 3-month initial Element Plus plan, but it's flexible beyond that. So you can do a basic plan, which is $20 a month, or a Plus plan, which is $35 a month, or you could do unlimited for $60 a month.
Okay. And does each text out and text in charge a credit, or is it just receive only?
Absolutely. So these all do run on credits, just like you said. And every time you basically use the device, that's using one of your credits.
Okay.
So if you receive a message, if you send a message, if you download a weather forecast, every time you do that, that basically uses one credit. So it depends on how much you want to use the device. If you want to do tracking, you can set the device up to track you, to ping you every 30 minutes and create a bread trail track for you. If that's the kind of situation you're doing, you're going to be using a lot of credits, and so that unlimited plan will be good for you.
Definitely.
Now, if you are going to be using this a lot as well, we do offer annual plans as well, where it comes down to about a $5 a month savings if you do the annual plan in advance.
Awesome.
So, absolutely a good option.
Jeff, thanks for coming out. Thanks for going over some of the new products from ACR and what they are and what they have to offer. If you have any questions or looking to get any more information about any of these products, you can view our website, boemarine.com. I will link all of the products down below. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks. Right, just hit stop.